is this year different for you coming in, knowing, for lack of a better word, you are gonna be kind of the guy this year? What kind of different, things you're trying to do to help prepare and maybe take other responsibilities that maybe you did not do before?
Right. Well, you'd like to say always that you prepare to be the guy and you always work the same that you would, but we're all human, and you kind of like, geez, sometimes it seems like I'm not going to play at all. But now, like you said, obviously, if somebody comes in and they're better than me, then they're going to start at University of Georgia. But there is a lot more of being hands-on with the routes, that the way you want the guys to run the routes, how you feel comfortable with them. A lot more reps than we had last year. So I guess just individual conversations about what I'm seeing and what they're seeing, and so we get to know how to play football better together.
Stetson, what was the time immediately after the national title game like for you, and when you did shift the focus back to getting ready for 2022, just what was that sort of like?
Yeah, I mean, it was a whirlwind. It seemed there for about 2 weeks. We hadn't won in 41 years, so I mean, the world exploded there for a second. Hadn't ever experienced anything like that before, but we got 2 weeks off because I think it's NCAA rules. After you finish playing, you have 2 weeks, and so we were a little bit further behind, because usually, or typically in the past, so for 17, we'd end on like January 1st or December 31, and so that 2 week period would start before school started. But this week it started right when school started, so we were 10 days, 11 days behind on like walkthroughs and football stuff. And so once we started back, there was a little bit more of a urgency, because we had lost, say a week and a half from prior years between then and spring ball. So we had like a week and a half less reps to get ready for spring ball. So there was an urgency to get the new guys, new enrollees back in, and the old guys who hadn't done anything for 2 weeks, get them back ready to go for spring ball.
Stetson, the morning after the national championship, when we talked to you that morning in Indianapolis, we hadn't seen the Good Morning America interview, and saw that you said something about what you wanted to hear. I think you may have used the word trust or whatever. And in terms of coming back, what did you need to hear in terms of from the coaches about wanting to come back, and what did you hear that made you say we're going to come back?
I mean, there's a bunch of private conversations that we won't go into, but it was more so just how are we going to do this year? I wanted to hear what Coach Smart had to do. I mean, I know like he's in charge, and we're going to follow up by his playbook. But I just wanted to know, for me, it was time for me to be a little selfish while I was making that decision. And then now I'm all board. So I wanted to hear a few things, and he told me some of them were what I wanted, some wasn't. And they're closed door conversations, but in the end, I thought that for me, I wanted to come back and play football at the University of Georgia.
Stetson, your timing was really good for winning the national championship and everything with NIL and all that kind of stuff. In what ways has your life changed, since January 10th to now?
Through NIL?
Through NIL and otherwise, just notoriety, fame.
Yeah. I mean, I started a few games the year before, so, I like to relate it all. I started quarterback in high school. People knew who I was in high school. I came here, scout team, somebody wrote an article about me out in the Rose Bowl. So, it wasn't that different. So it wasn't like nobody had ever heard of me, but it did kind of explode there for a second. And so I had to, take a look back and be like, all right, you can't give your time out to everybody who wants it, right? And thank goodness I had a great support staff to help me out with that. But I know what's important, school-wise, football-wise, personal life-wise, to not get too, spread thin. I lived without NIL for a long time. I can live without it, for a long time. It's given me, through like the DGD fund, ways to help people and stuff like that. So I love it, but I'm not allowing it to be a distraction.
What's the weirdest request that you've gotten from a fan or something since the national championship?
I actually do have one. It recently happened. So somebody DM'd me a picture of a three-striped armadillo on Instagram and was like, should I purchase this? He's like, you've made good decisions in the past. I want to see if you wanted me to purchase this. And I was like, I don't know anything about this. And so he said it was like, and I usually don't respond to DMs, but I was like, I gotta respond to this one. And so he was like, he's like, yeah, man, it costs like $10,000, all this stuff. And I was like, geez, that's a lot of money. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, how long does it live for? Because it lives for a year. Then yeah. And he was like, well, I mean, in captivity it's like 20 to 30 years. And I was like, I mean, dude, like, I don't know how much money you got, but I want you to buy it, you know, just for me, because it looks awesome. And then we kind of carried on. He asked me about a sloth and other things, but that was probably the coolest. That was the coolest thing.
Yeah, and I guess 2 questions here. 1, do you still have the flip phone? And 2, you know, you won a national championship here. You did as the starting quarterback. What do you want out of this coming season?
No, I don't have a flip phone. I got rid of that. And then for this coming season, like, what do you mean? Like, could I get anywhere better than I am now? Is that what you're asking?
Just what do you want? You know, because theoretically, you led Georgia to its first national championship in 41 years. I mean, I'm not sure it gets better than that. And so, you know, now that you've done that, you've done seemingly impossible. What do you, and not impossible for you, but like impossible in that no one thought Georgia would ever do it. How do you move on from that and try and accomplish more?
Man, I love football. I love football. I love this team. I love the relationships. I love the things that it teaches you. I also don't think that I'm as good as I'm going to be. I don't think this team is as good as it's going to be. You know, it's about the daily grind, the daily competition. You know, where do we want to be next week? Where do we want to be tomorrow, right? It's those little incremental goals. And then, you know, shoot, why does anybody ever won something do it again? Because it felt nice and it was pretty cool. Let's go do it again, right? Let's compete every day. Let's see if we got it, what it takes next year.
Stetson, I imagine your coaches have challenged you more to be more of a leader. Clearly, you're the quarterback, so you're a pretty good leader. But is that coming natural to you? And then also, what's it like having Coach Bobo around now?
Yeah. Well, it's different. I guess back to the earlier question. You know, how is spring ball different than this year versus last year? I'd say it's more of a comfort thing for me because, you know, you don't want to, I don't know, because we all knew JT was the guy going in last year, right? And so you don't want to, you know, especially I wouldn't take any reps, so who was I to come over and be like, hey, you know, let's run the route this way. But now there's a comfort level and there's a respect level from both sides that I can go up and be like, hey, we're not doing that, we're going to do this. And somebody can come and tell me. I always, you know, want to be that guy where I'm not, you know, like the parent or anything like that. Like, we're brothers, we're on the same football team, right? If you see me doing something wrong and a drop or something, come let me know. But it's more of a comfort thing, and being more vocal. You know, I've never been too vocal. Always kind of, you know, chill, even flow. But that's been a point that I've tried to step up this spring.
Did you coach Bobo?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, Bobo's the man. I knew his dad for longer because he'd worked the Bobby Lamb football camps up in Mercer, and I'd go there, and he had me on the ladder since I was, you know, a little kid. So that was that. This was actually the first time I met his son, Coach Bobo. But he's easy to talk to. I don't want to speak for him or Coach Muschamp, but when they come back and they're, you know, I don't know their job title, but when they're not DCs or OCs, I feel like it's probably just back to, you know, hey, we're coaching them, you know. So I figure it's probably a little bit more fun for them. And I mean, they bring 30 years of football knowledge that isn't on the staff, and they bring it, so it's been invaluable.
You talked a lot about being more of a leader and correcting guys in practice, stuff like that. How hard, or was that hard for you last year, you know, coming in and taking over the job, and how much has that already helped this spring, and how much can it help going into next year?
No, it was a struggle. because again, I think me and JT did an unbelievable job not dividing the locker room. Both when he came over and took over for me, and I took over for him this past year. We both did an incredible job, but there was that sense of, you know, I don't want to, you know, create this branch, and if I do this, will it create that? You know, a little overthinking. But anyways, it has gotten easier this spring with being, you know, the guy coming in expected to be the starter, and building a year of relationships, being the guy back in here, and then let's see how far we can go this next year.
Yes, Stetson, I guess just kind of a bookkeeping question, if you will, and then a question about decision making. One, we've seen your age on the internet, 23, 24, I don't know which one it is, but it keeps bouncing. Your dad says one thing, Wiki says another. And then as far as the decisions, you know, Kirby, he leans on everybody, but he talks about decision making. How much of that has to do with just having more experienced receivers and knowing what to anticipate out there from them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But I mean, obviously, making good decisions. I mean, I think the leading stat for winning or losing a football game, besides explosive plays now with offensive football coming more into play, is turnover. So you can't turn the ball over. And then another one is, you know, lost yardage plays. So how can we not turn the ball over in critical moments when we need first downs? And how can we get out of a bad play and turn it into a good play? Negative yardage play, turn into a positive yardage play. So those kind of decision makings are, I mean, uncalculated, you know, benefit when a quarterback can do both those things.
Just looking at the rest of the quarterback room, what have your early impressions of Gunnar been, and how have you seen Carson and Brock improve?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Carson's, I mean, I guess he's a vet now. Carson's a stud. Gunnar has came in, he comes in and he takes over the playbook. He's asking me questions, you know, wants to learn, what's this, what's that mean, what's this mean, all this stuff. And he's soaking up like a sponge. And Brock's he's getting better every day. He's in the playbook and doing his thing. But I mean, I think we have an awesome relationship. I try to foster that in the quarterback room, you know. And whenever those guys need any help, I'm always there for them.
2 more questions?
According to several social media sources, you were a Jeopardy question tonight.
I got that text earlier.
You got that?
I did. I hope they got it right.
The question was, in 2022, quarterback Stetson Bennett led this school to the national title over SEC rival Alabama.
Oh, well, that's kind of.
I didn't have a question. I just wanted.
It's kind of helping them along to the question. I hope they weren't like, "Who's a quarterback?" Nobody would have gotten that one.
Stetson, did you have a script approval on the Raising Cane's ad when you gave the total? Did you have fun with
Yeah, no, that was instructed on that one. Yeah, that was cool.
Thank you.
You good? All right, thanks, guys.